From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to this special edition of U.S. Farm Report. We're on the road from the 2016 ProFarmer Crop Tour in Minnesota. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what we're working on for you over the next hour. We have complete coverage of one of the most watched crop tours of the year, including ProFarmer's final yield.
I think that beans probably have a better shot of going above what the August estimate was than corn does.
In our Farm Journal report, we have a complete recap of the crop tour.
Very low ear count, tip back as you can see.
From mud to drought and surprises to disappointment, consistency just wasn't there. As ag mergers continue to make waves, U.S. regulators give the nod for Kim China to buy Syngenta. And in John's world,
let's talk about cool shops.
U.S. Farm Report, brought to you by the dependable, long-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Now for the news that moved the markets this week. The ProFarmer Crop Tour took place as crop scouts ground truthed USDA's most recent report, and there were a few surprises along the way. ProFarmer pegs the 2016 national corn yield at 170.2. Now that's a major drop from USDA's August 1 forecast of 175.1. But if ProFarmer is right, that's also below 2014's record of 171 bushels per acre. ProFarmer also estimating production at 14.728 billion bushels for corn. That's down from USDA's August forecast of 15.2 billion. Now moving to soybeans, ProFarmer thinks we could have a record soybean crop on our hands with the national yield pegged at 49.3 bushels per acre. Now that's above USDA's August yield of 48.9 bushels per acre and beats the 2015 record by 1.3 bushels per acre. As for production, ProFarmer calling it a 4.093 billion bushel crop. That's just slightly higher than USDA's August number.
It's a very good corn crop. Illinois is very good. Iowa's very good. You know, the one thing I would say, though, is that every state probably has a little bit of an issue somewhere. Maybe Illinois is the one that doesn't, but the rest of them all have some little kind of issue. That's the only thing that makes me believe that it may not be a record when all's said and done.
Well, the latest USDA crop progress report shows corn conditions actually increasing a point from last week. Now 75% is rated good to excellent, and 85% is in the dough stage, 9 points ahead of average. The amount of corn dented is also ahead of the normal pace at 40%. And on soybeans, 72% is rated good to excellent, a point better in the excellent category. 89% of the crop is setting pods, 4 points more than average. But remember all the massive flooding we showed you last week in Louisiana and Arkansas? Well, it's showing up in rice condition ratings. USDA calling Arkansas 52% good to excellent, a 10-point drop in just a week. Louisiana fell 4 points to 53% good to excellent. Much of that crop was already harvested. Analysts were watching placements closely in the latest cattle on feed report, and it shows placements moving higher, up 2%. As for total number of cattle on feed, that's also up 2% in July to 10.2 million head. But marketings fell in July to 1.7 million head. That's down 1%, making it the lowest total for the month of July on record. All right, those are the headlines. Now let's check in back at the studio with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, some of our crop scouts this week, they battled rain. We're headed to the Farm Progress Show next week. How's the weather shaping up?
Well, thanks, Tyne. There will be some systems moving through the northern tier of states, so there are some chances for rain, but the big thing we're going to be watching is a potential hurricane in the Gulf. We'll talk more about that. In the meantime, there's a drought monitor, and you can see it has actually shrunk in some of these bad areas, the southeast. The northeast has gotten a little larger, but also shrinking in the western plains. So we go back 4 weeks. You can kind of see where things were. Now watch how things improve through the central plain states into the central portions of the Corn Belt. In fact, some of those areas turned pretty wet, as we all know. All right, let's take a look at things then. Now I'm going to point out right off the bat here, because this show is shown all across the country on multiple stations at different times over the weekend. I'm recording this late in the week, so you know, this Hurricane Hermine, it's something that we just have to watch exactly where it's going to be. This is what we believe now, a low pressure moving through southern Florida. Northern tier of states, cold front in the northeast into the Ohio Valley. scattered showers and thunderstorms. Secondary system coming through the northern plains with the same idea. Another one lurking off the northwest coast. And of course, that area of low pressure in the southwest. That will remain. So spotty thunderstorms in the southwest. We'll have to watch the potential for heavy rains wherever this hurricane actually ends up hitting. I'm thinking it's more going to be in the northeastern portions of the Gulf Coast, but you never know with hurricanes. It could end up going a little farther west. You can see scattered thunderstorms in the northeast. That next system moving through the northern tier of states, and that will continue to move eastward with some scattered thunderstorms through the north, with the remnants of the hurricane moving somewhere through the southeast. We'll be back in our next half hour with a longer range forecast.
All right, thanks, Mike. Well, how good is this corn crop out here? We'll hear firsthand from ProFarmer after the break. That's because Brian Brady and Chip Flory join me, as well as 2 marketing analysts. It's a conversation you won't want to miss.
How's it going? Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck.
Awesome.
All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
Oh, wow. That's a good-sized puncture.
That's all the way through for sure.
Full-on crack here. If you're aluminum now, you're gonna go, ooh.
Let's check out the Silverado steel bed.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple dents.
I'd expect more dents.
Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
Recent medical studies have shown that the use of talcum powder can cause ovarian cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with ovarian cancer after using talcum powder, call right now. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Call right now to determine if you may qualify. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait.
Call 1-800-842-1969. Again, that's 1-800-842-1969.
Parasites will lose you more money than any other disease out there besides infertility. So, parasites is something that we have to control, and that's what VetGun does for us. It's tough out there on a ranch, but with the ease of the VetGun, it's a one-man operation, and whenever you can get one thing to work out great throughout that day, it just makes my life a little easier.
Hi, I'm Joan London. When I needed to find senior care for my mom, I really struggled to find the right fit. That's why I recommend A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. They have advisors that can help you find the right senior care at no cost to you. There's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. 800-243-0190.
U.S. Farm Report on the road at the 2016 ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour is brought to you by DuPont Pioneer, with you from the word go.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. As I promised, we're here with some of the key scouts on the 2016 ProFarmer Crop Tour. We'll start off with 2 from the western leg. Jared, I'm going to start off with you. I mean, you guys started in South Dakota. We know they were dealing with some dryness this year. So was it disappointment to kick off the west?
Sure, Tyne. South Dakota, Nebraska, most definitely. We know it's been dry. Drought monitor proves that. South Dakota is incredibly rough. Making our way through Nebraska, I'm always one to discount localized storms and moisture and wind.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, green snap was a story for both first 2 days, both all the way into Grand Island. We came down Highway 30 from Sioux City into Columbus, and Columbus down to Hastings and east back over to Nebraska City. And I would say over the 2-day stretch, we easily averaged in our route at least 20% green snap.
Wow.
So significant problems. As you advance into Iowa, Minnesota, it's like a repeating story. Moisture is there. The crop is set up to finish well. It's just going to come down to what our actual ear counts go to.
That green snap out there, what it did is it took off what could have been a really impressive crop in Nebraska, because our ear counts, they're not down that much from what we have traditionally counted in Nebraska. But we lost a little bit on the grain length, and when you add up the ear counts and the grain length and the kernel rows around, it's not the Nebraska crop that I thought I was going to see.
All right, so the record that we saw last year in some of those key states on the West, you're saying that's not there this year.
Well, now don't forget, we usually measure Nebraska about 15 bushels too light, but we came
because of the irrigated acres.
Because we sample about 40% irrigated, 60% dry land. The state is just the opposite. At 158.6, are you kidding me? We were down 4% from last year. USDA on August 1 was up 1%. If there's one thing that we do right on this crop tour is we get the trend. We get the trend. I think Nebraska's down from last year, not up.
And we've been talking about this tip back, and you said some tip back is good. I mean, that means you're planting the right population. But do you think the tip back was too much?
I don't think we've seen much tip back, especially in Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah.
Hardly any to speak of in our route for Iowa and Minnesota. I would just say South Dakota, Nebraska for sure. Crop is nowhere near as close as last year. I think we got to just be a little bit careful with the assumptions on Iowa and Minnesota as of today.
If you want to find the tip back, go to South Dakota. You're not only going to find tip back, you're going to find zippered ears. They had problems all season long.
Yeah, and we saw that in the drought monitor and other issues that we had in South Dakota this year. On the east, speaking of drought, Ohio, you guys started off in Ohio. We knew it was dry there. Did Ohio's crop surprise you any, Pete?
No, I went in there with very low expectations on Ohio, to be honest. I mean, the western Ohio crop, the eastern Indiana crop. I mean, Indiana is a tale of two crops, quite honestly. Yeah. As soon as you get to western Indiana, I was very, very impressed with the western Indiana crop. I mean, it's as solid as I have ever seen it.
Really?
Will it be enough to make up for the east? I'm not so sure. But then again, when we start to get into Illinois, I came in just around Decatur, in that area. Maybe my expectations were just a little bit too high, but I didn't particularly care for either the corn yields we were pulling nor the pod counts.
Well, with a record crop, you're supposed to have high expectations. But Pete, you hadn't been on the east in a few years. You were there in 2014. Is that crop in Illinois? Is it 2014?
No, I don't think Ohio, Indiana, or Illinois are 2014. I don't think Illinois is 2014, even though I was out in Illinois 3 or 4 times before crop tour and just astounded at how flat the corn was. I expected it to be much more uniform as the tops were, but it's not. There's some variability in that crop.
But it got close to 2014.
It's close. It doesn't have the uniformity at all. Not at all. I will never forget that 2014 Illinois corn crop. That was the best corn crop. I think this year's Illinois corn crop is close. It's the second best individual state corn crop I've ever seen, behind 2014 Illinois.
Yeah, if I had to put a number on it, I mean, USDA's at 200, 2014 was 200. It's a 195. Is it going to make a difference? 195 is a pretty
And keep in mind, we don't go in southern Illinois, but in southern Illinois in 2014, that didn't hurt the state. And this year, I think it will pull the state average down.
I totally agree with that. I have not, on the way back home to New York, I will go through above Route 88 and try to look at that stuff in northern. I don't think that's going to be able to compensate for southern Illinois, but I totally agree. In 2014, we had a good southern Illinois crop, and for what I hear anecdotally, it's not there.
Brian, what about when you got into Iowa? What did you see there? Is that enough to make up for the second best crop that we're seeing in Illinois?
Well, Iowa, when we first got in yesterday, I was pretty impressed with it going into Iowa City. I was pretty impressed. Today, not so much. What we saw was a lot of skips in rows, a lot of blank stocks, way more so than I anticipated. I think probably 5 to 10 per 2 rows that we counted in each field. And you wouldn't anticipate that, and the plant health wasn't there either. Mm-hmm. From the ear up, it's green, and it looks nice. And from the road, it looks nice. But from the ear down, there's some issues. We got some stock rot and stock quality issues in there.
All right, so is this a 175.1 crop? Doesn't sound like it, but we're going to get their thoughts when we come back on U.S. Farm Report, so don't go anywhere.
How do you define success? By hitting a new high on the yield monitor? By turning tough acres into productive acres? However you define success, your local DuPont Pioneer team is there with the insights you need to achieve it. So let's take it row by row, acre by acre, season after season. Pioneer, with you from the word go.
Join Drovers and Dr. Dan Thompson for our 3rd annual Feedlot Cowboy College on September 7th and 8th in Dodge City, Kansas. This 2-day seminar, led by respected and knowledgeable industry experts, is filled with timely information for feedlot operators. Topics include animal health, low-stress animal handling, technology, and how to improve animal welfare. Attendance will also qualify you as BQA certified. For more information, visit droverscowboycollege.com.
Once you cut a tree down, what do you do about the stump? Grind it down with a DR Stump Grinder, the fast, easy, and affordable solution for stump removal. Thanks to the power of a world-class engine and carbide-tipped cutting teeth, the DR Stump Grinder tackles any size stump. With each pass, these teeth quickly shave the stump down, taking a remarkable 360 bites per second. In no time, the stump is completely gone. All that's left behind is a pile of wood chips. Get behind the power of a DR Stump Grinder to rid your property of tree stumps forever.
Call 1-800-505-6081 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. Learn how you can try a DR Stump Grinder for 1 year. With our special financing plan, you can own a DR by making low monthly payments. Plus, get free shipping if you call now. 1-800-505-6081. Online at drstumpgrinder.com.
U.S. Farm Report on the road at the 2016 ProFarmer Midwest Crop Tour is brought to you by DuPont Pioneer, with you from the word go.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. Okay, we didn't hit much on Minnesota before the break, so just give me your overall consensus of what you saw in Minnesota, Chip.
Unimpressed. I was
really?
I was unimpressed. I thought it was going to be down from a year ago. I didn't think that it was going to be the crop that I saw. Okay, and a lot of the issues that we're talking about as a group, I think goes back to the planting season. We had 1 and 2, and in some cases 3 planting seasons. And then we can't forget when that crop was trying to emerge, it was cold, it was damp, it was really struggling hard to get up. And then the second half of June turned hot. Well, what we're doing at that time is we're setting the size of the year. We were putting stress on it at exactly the wrong time. And July during the kernel fill, no, it wasn't oppressively hot, but it was above normal.
Well, nighttime temperatures were way above normal.
Okay, well, okay, maybe I shouldn't have
I'm going to challenge you just a little bit, though. We always talk about going on a tour without having expectations. Without the expectations, you go into the Minnesota State, and it was still okay. It's still a good crop.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a record? Probably not. But I'm telling you, the crop is set up to finish well at this moment.
Because it's in that mid-dough, late-dough stage in a lot of cases. If we get the conditions like we had today, cool, and slow cook it into the end of the year, Minnesota could be better than what I think right now.
Brian, you were more east in Minnesota. What did you think?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, we didn't do a whole lot of sampling through here. Chip's group does the bulk of it. We just come up through Rochester, so we get just a small portion of it. But I can't disagree with anything they said there. I think that it has the potential to maybe add a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of question marks.
All right, I know the verdict's still out on the soybeans, so let's hit on corn. Pete, do you think we have a 175.1 national average on our hands?
No, I do not. I think the number is probably somewhere between 170 and 172. The problem we have is that we added 6 million additional acres this year that nobody really goes to look at. You have a nice crop in Wisconsin. You have some good stuff. All the Missouri guys are back in the game. I saw some yield checks today, or I should say harvest checks today, from Kansas at 185, 20 bushel better than they thought. These acres are what concerns me because I really don't know what's going on there. I think it's a 170, 171 crop. It's in that area, maybe 172 on the high end. But the real question is, will it make a difference in price? And I do not think it makes a difference.
Well, we're going to hit on that next. But Jared, what do you think overall?
I think you just got to be careful. Even if you drop Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, you start dinging them from 5 to 10 bushel an acre, it lines up with what Pete is talking about, that 170, 172 range, nothing lower.
Yeah, everything is perfect from this point forward. Everything. 174 at the top.
Okay.
174 at the top. If it finishes normally, I like their numbers.
Brian?
Well, I want to talk about the market because, we printed a 175.1 number from USDA on August 1, and the market didn't go down. Why? Because they're trading 170 to 172. That's
correct.
And that's what they think it is right now. They don't think it's 175.1, so it doesn't put major price pressure on the market.
Yeah, so, after the USDA report, we saw no reaction from the trade. This week, usually ProFarmer really moves the markets. It was uneventful on the market side. So does the trade just not care? Thursday it put pressure on the beans, but the corn, and does the trade just not care at this point?
It's not that they don't care. They just think that they're really comfortable with that 170 to 172, I think. And at that level, you either got to go lower and encourage more demand, or you decide that it's a disappointment compared to the 175.1, and then you push it higher.
You're trading 2.5 or 2, not 1.5 or 1.
All right, Pete, do you think we've put this last week we talked about possibly we've already put this harvest low in. Do you think we've seen a harvest low early this year?
No, I do not. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out process here, and I think your banker is going to have something to say about it too, and that scares me to death. I mean, I really think that as a country, we're just planting too many corn acres. We could have easily done without 5 million acres this year. How we get around that, I don't know. But no, I don't think the harvest low is in.
Do you think that the low's in, Brian?
Well, historically, big crop years, you put in an early harvest low. You realize the big crop ahead of time. You make that low. As prices are dropping, you build your demand base, which encourages you to come out of that early seasonal low. And historically, we also, in addition to the early harvest low or seasonal low, we have a greater than normal price recovery through fall.
All right, only about 30 seconds left.
What Brian said.
We've structured ourselves in a situation for a record corn demand. We're not low enough to actually draw in all that demand as of today.
All right, so what are their closing thoughts? We're going to do that when we come back from Market Smoke.
Are you living with slow internet at home? Or maybe no internet at all? Then you need HughesNet Gen 4, high-speed satellite internet. Whether you live out of town or way out of town, HughesNet is available wherever you call home. So you can live where you love and enjoy a great internet connection too. HughesNet features smart technologies to make your online experience better than ever. So go ahead, shop for deals. Learn new things. Share little moments. And stay in touch. Connect to what matters most with HughesNet.
Right now is the perfect time to finally get high-speed internet where you live. HughesNet, America's #1 choice for satellite internet. Call now. For a limited time, standard installation is free. For special offers only in your area, text FAST to 99000.
Now everyone who uses catheters can get a better catheter with Liberator Medical's free catheter sample pack. These new catheters are better than ever, easier to use, more convenient, comfortable, virtually pain-free. Don't wait. Call now and get your free catheter sample pack. There's the all-new compact catheter for women, pre-lubricated, no drips, no mess, fits in your purse. The self-lubricated catheter. It lubricates itself in the package. Comfortable, no mess. The closed system catheter, pre-lubricated with its own collection bag, proven to reduce UTIs. The discreet pocket catheter, curved to fit in your pocket to go anywhere. The polished eyelet catheter for micro-smooth comfort, reduces friction and pain. Call now. We'll also bill Medicare and your insurance for you. Call for your free catheter sample pack with free shipping. Call Liberator Medical.
Call 1-800-291-9626. 1-800-291-9626.
All right, a quick recap, closing thoughts, markets now. Peter Meyer, let's start with you.
I think it's a good crop. It's not a great crop. It's an adequate crop, but it's going to add more in the carryout, which worries me. Stocks-to-use ratio at 16.6%. I don't see that moving much. That's a concern. That points the prices closer to $3.
All right, Brian Grady.
Well, we know that if it's going to be a record this year, the Central Corn Belt is going to have to carry it. And I think we saw really good crops in Iowa and Illinois. As we move out from there, they declined, and that's going to be the real question, whether or not we can get to a record.
All right, Chip.
This bean crop out there is a good crop. It's got every potential to be a 48.9 like USDA told us on August 1. I don't think that there's a whole lot of room to the upside, but if things don't finish right, there's room to the downside. And even at 48.9, it's not a burdensome situation at the end of the 16-17 marketing year.
Jared?
Echoing a little bit of what Chip says, whether corn yields 170, 175, bean yields 47 or 50. We structured ourselves for incredible demand, like I just mentioned. We got a lot of work to do to get all that demand through this next 12 months of the marketing year.
All right, thanks so much. Please stay with us. We'll be back with John Phipps in just a moment.
The new DR trimmer mowers are here, and they're better than ever. The walk-behind DRs feature world-class engines and easy rolling wheels that let you trim along buildings, decks, and fence lines, mow tall grass and waist-high weeds without tangling, even cut brush up to 3 inches thick with optional cutting attachments. And now there's a full line of tow-behind DR trimmer mowers. Choose from models customized for riding mowers, ATVs, or compact tractors. So turn to DR and get the job done right.
Call 1-800-409-1854 for your free buyer's guide and DVD. We'll include a limited time offer to try a DR at home for a full year. Free shipping is now in effect and payments start as low as $25 a month. Hurry, this offer won't last. 1-800-409-1854. Online at drtrimmer.com.
DR is professional power done right.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
Attention homeowners, taking a bath in your high-wall tub is an accident waiting to happen. But now, you can turn your existing tub or shower into a safe, easy-entry tub in just one day. With no tub walls to climb over, just open the door and walk right in. And for a limited time, save $1,500 and be one of the first 100 callers to get a free gift with purchase.
Call 1-800-498-0899. That's 1-800-498-0899.
All right, it's time for this week's John's World as we jump from Minnesota to Illinois and head to John's farm.
It wasn't until the twilight of my career and $6 corn that we remodeled this machine shed into a warm shop with insulation and a ceiling. Until then, it had really been hard to massage the numbers to make such a seeming luxury competitive with other capital demands, like, machinery that worked and mortgage payments. So I scoffed at neighbors who were too soft to work on machinery in 20-degree weather, even as I simmered with envy. Like all of us who finally do get a warm place to work in the winter, we can't imagine doing without it now. Not having ice-cold tools is just the start. Because you're comfortable, you don't rush and do a better job. Grease and oil flow better, and batteries on power tools actually have some run time. But maybe the biggest plus of all is no longer postponing needed maintenance because it was dreaded work easily ignored. Now, as grateful as I am for this luxury, it may return less on the investment than it used to. Look at these temperature predictions from climatechange.org. They show the number of 100-degree days for the past 2 decades and estimates of how many we'll experience in 2060 and 2100. Now, those used to seem a long way off, but I think of it now as Aaron and my grandson being roughly my age. Now, these are averages, remember. So for Central Illinois, 100 degrees will be a familiar summer event. I don't think we should expect this to be a dry heat either. This summer illustrated that added misery. The upshot is that we think we'll soon be contemplating adding air conditioning to the shop, like the wall units that I put in and now can't live without on my wood shop. Still, it's kind of weird to finally get a long-desired warm shop just in time to really want a cool shop.
Thanks, John. Well, the ProFarmer Crop Tour this week, it was definitely full of some surprises as well as some disappointment. We have boots on the ground to explore it all. That happens right after the break.
U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.
From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
From Minnesota's cornfields now to the soybean fields, we're continuing our special edition of U.S. Farm Report from the 2016 ProFarmer Crop Tour, and we have much more ahead over the next 30 minutes. Our Farm Journal report is ground truthing, going behind the scenes with scouts to see what they saw on the tour this week. And customer support with these low prices, could we see a bump in CRP acres next year? And all this talk about crops, we need some balance, so we'll check in with Baxter Black to imagine a life without cows. Now for the headlines. Shares of Monsanto Company rose earlier this week on news they could be one step closer to a merger with Bayer. Sources say a deal could be clinched within the next 2 weeks. Bloomberg reporting merger talks between Bayer and Monsanto made headway this week as the two companies had hashed out issues like purchase price and termination fee. According to people familiar with the matter, a merger agreement could happen anytime as the company's CEOs held what they call constructive meetings. But those same sources caution negotiations could fall apart or be delayed. Also on the merger front, Syngenta and ChemChina getting the go-ahead nod from U.S. regulators. Shares surged this week after the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States approved the buyout by ChemChina on Monday. That boosted chances that the largest foreign acquisition ever by a Chinese company will go through. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley is continuing to raise concerns over the ChemChina-Syngenta deal, calling it alarming. Grassley heads the Senate Judiciary Committee, and just this week he announced he's hosting a hearing on the wave of ag company mergers. It will be held in late September, and it's still being determined who exactly will testify. He says the hearing will focus not only on current mergers on the table, but current trends of consolidation within the chem and seed industries. As dairy farmers across the country battle low milk prices, USDA is trying to help. The department says it will buy $20 million of cheese, or 11 million pounds, from private inventories. They are donating the cheese to food assistance programs that will help reduce the hefty supplies weighing on prices. Currently, the cheese surplus is at an all-time high. USDA also recently extending the deadline to sign up for the Dairy Margin Protection Program. It's now pushed back to December 16th. John Deere is laying off 145 workers. That's after the company announced it's slowing production on both tractors and combines to reflect the current demand. Most of those cuts will come from their Iowa manufacturing sites, with 115 in Waterloo and 30 in Davenport. The layoffs will be effective at the end of September. That's in addition to the close to 2,000 layoffs the company has already made. John Deere says it expects ag equipment sales to fall 15 to 20% this year in both the U.S. and Canada. Well, if you're planning on attending the Farm Progress Show in Boone, Iowa next week, you may want to pencil us in. We'll be at the show the first 2 days doing live tapings. On Tuesday, we'll be at the channel booth from 11:30 to 1. I have an impressive lineup of analysts, including Joe Vaklovic, Matt Bennett, and Angie Setzer. We'll break down these crazy market prices, and we'll also be serving lunch, but it is first come, first serve. Then on Wednesday, join us at the Asgrow DeKalb booth at 1 o'clock. Chip Flory and Machinery Pete will join me to discuss yields and equipment. Plus, we're giving away a Yeti cooler to one lucky viewer. It'll be a good couple days and a chance to meet some of us, so we hope to see you there. Well, let's check back in with Mike Hoffman at the studio for a longer range look at weather. Mike, are you still thinking that we're going to turn cooler for much of the nation's midsection over the next 30 days?
Thanks, Tyne. Probably just by a little bit in the middle of the country. We do believe that there will be some cooler intrusions of air, but also times where it warms up again. And in fact, we're probably going to start the month of September on the warm side, because watch what happens with the jet stream. You can see how it's mainly through the northern tier of states, and then we see this ridge kind of building up through the middle of the country. A pretty good trough coming in out west. You folks are going to cool down, and it will be cool in much of the northeast with that trough there. But the ridge building up by Friday, that could bring some heat before things start to get cut back down again with that trough trying to dig in farther north. So the September temperatures, this is a 90-day outlook above normal for the southern Mississippi Valley and the entire East Coast, as well as the Southwest. A little bit of below normal area, far northern plains, and probably just slightly below in the central and northern plains. October temperatures, though, we go back the other way. I don't show any below normal areas. Above normal for most of the country except the southwest. November, kind of same idea with a little bit of cooler air coming into the far northern plains, but most of the country above normal. And precipitation above normal, Gulf Coast northeast, mainly because of the good chance of hurricanes and tropical storms, and above normal through the northern tier of states. Time?
All right, thanks, Mike. Well, if you're just now joining us this weekend, we're at the 2016 ProFarmer Crop Tour, where things wrapped up Thursday in Minnesota. That's where we are now. The Crop Tour is closely watched every year, but this year, most tuned in to see if USDA could actually be right, and we do have a record corn and soybean crop on our hands. Now, the Crop Tour captures thousands of samples from 7 states. The western leg went from South Dakota through Nebraska, then on to Iowa, finally ending in Minnesota. And on the east, it was Ohio to Indiana, then through Illinois and Iowa and up to Minnesota. So what did the scouts see this week, and is it a record crop? That's this week's Farm Journal report. From mud in Iowa,
we've had plenty. We could use some sunshine.
To dryness in South Dakota.
Cracks are a heck of a lot more evident than any moisture.
And from surprises in Illinois.
But I think there's going to be some holes in the Illinois corn crop.
To more disappointment in Nebraska.
So far, we're not really seeing what the USDA was seeing in Nebraska.
The 2016 ProFarmer Crop Tour might be proof this crop isn't as big as USDA advertised in August.
See some tip back.
Scouts covered thousands of miles this week.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Collecting more than 1,000 samples in search of this year's yield. And as the tour kicked off in both Ohio and South Dakota Monday morning, they quickly discovered drought is eating away at some of the yield. Jared Creed was on the west.
The biggest piece that we took away from last year is we left every single field tracking out mud. It is night and day different this year.
When we wrapped up in South Dakota, we ended up with a corn yield just under 150 bushels per acre. That was down about 9.7% from what we saw a year ago in South Dakota. USDA on August 1 was off 7.5%. I feel like there's maybe just a little bit of room to the downside on that South Dakota corn yield.
And in Ohio, it's no secret dryness robbed some farmers of yield.
Very low ear count, tip back as you can see.
We know that we're looking at a significant reduction in what we would consider a normal corn crop.
And in Indiana,
16.
The dryness got the best of some of the fields.
I would say it's probably kind of an average crop for what they'd usually expect up in this neighborhood. When you get into dry land up here in the areas where there's irrigation in particular, it's a real roll of the dice as to what you're going to get. And some of the fields that we were in apparently missed some of the rainfall, and hence the sub 200 bushel type yield.
And for the state's soybeans, Bernard says there's still time.
They are going to benefit from some of these later rains that have fallen in this area.
And as scouts crossed into Nebraska on day 2, lodged corn made it difficult to steer through green fields.
We got onto a route that had quite a bit of wind damage, and we were seeing green snap quite frequently. That was causing some more issues out there than what we kind of anticipated.
And as far as the corn goes, we've been quite disappointed today.
Matt Bennett says he had much higher hopes for the irrigated corn fields.
7.5.
So far, we're not really seeing what the USDA was seeing in Nebraska.
Nebraska, a little rough. Lot of green snap. The irrigated yields just were not coming in where they should. Had a lot of 150 to 160 for irrigated. My route, the dry land, yielded about the same as the irrigated.
Chip Flory says it's the irrigated corn yield that surprised him the most.
A little disappointed with the results we got out of Nebraska. The dry land in Nebraska, I think, is pushing the state yield up from the bottom, but the irrigated yield isn't doing a whole lot to pull it higher from the top.
Flory says it's going to be tough to hit USDA's current 187 yield they have pegged on Nebraska, but soybeans, that's a different story.
Looking at soybeans real quick, it's the same crop that we saw a year ago.
And as both legs met in the middle exploring Iowa, they found a mixed bag.
We've had 8 stops. We've had very strong corn. It's been very healthy corn. We've had no major diseases. It's been very consistent corn.
Our crop was better in 2015 than 14, And so I think this is as good or maybe a little better than 2015.
But the soybeans are showing glimpses of disappointment as the crop finishes out.
There's a lot of beans here, so how the sudden death is going to impact is kind of tough.
That's changing Darren Engelbrecht's attitude late in the season.
Not real sure how the end is going to be, but it's there's enough variability in these soybeans that I think the top end may have gotten hurt.
Despite variability, ProFarmer says we still have a big corn crop on our hands. And while the verdict is still out on the soybeans, ProFarmer thinks it has the potential to be a record breaker.
I think that beans probably have a better shot of going above what the August estimate was than corn does.
Well, Scouts ended the tour right here in Minnesota, and these fields behind me, well, they don't have that wow factor they have last year. Scouts say they didn't see the record crop like farmers saw here in 2015. They also battled some white mold and other disease pressure in soybeans that could bring that final yield down. All right, when we come back, we're off to John at Phipps Farm again, this time for customer support.
The CRP, good idea or not?
We farm mostly soybeans, probably a third of it is corn. We switched to the Liberty Link trait about 5 years ago. We've had real good success with it. It's helped us control our weeds. Our biggest weed challenge would be the pigweed, and we get our fields clean when we start, and then we usually try to come back 28 to 30 days after planting with our Liberty and a post emerge. And the Liberty is just easier, and we don't have to be a chemist to mix our chemical. Very simple, and it works. It's all done real well, and we're just very happy with the Liberty Link system.
The Liberty Link system, a simply better solution, now backed by the Liberty Weed Control Guarantee, because Liberty is simply better weed control by Bayer.
How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to file a claim. My central air stopped working and needs to be replaced.
Oh, sorry, your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover air conditioners.
So what do you cover?
Well, home damage from things like earthquakes, volcanoes, a zombie apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse.
Covered.
But not my air conditioner.
Mm-mm.
But his air conditioner would have been covered with a home warranty from American Home Shield, plus major components of 20 other home systems and appliances, like his electrical system, plumbing, oven, refrigerator, washer, water heater, and more. Homeowners insurance can cover what might happen.
Zombies are coming!
But a home warranty from award-winning American Home Shield helps cover what will happen.
Now the dryer won't work.
Life happens. Have a plan. Get a home warranty from American Home Shield. For valuable free information, call 1-800-944-5796.
Welcome back. Well, Scouts on the crop tour this week didn't stop at any CRP fields, but that's the topic of this week's customer support.
Your call is very important to us. Please hold.
Loyal viewer Brian Anderson brings up a hot topic, the Conservation Reserve Program. In today's grain pricing structure, the only way to make a profit is to reduce input cost or produce more bushels. I decided to put some land into the CRP program to improve the soil quality for my children, and it should reduce the grain supply, hopefully increasing prices. A local farmer commented that he did not think he should have to compete with the U.S. government for land. What do you think? Well, Brian, up until this year, I didn't think about the CRP hardly at all. Our farm is almost all high productivity soils, and we only have a few odd acres of highly erodible land or other tracts that seem vaguely suitable for CRP. In addition, up until now, the payment has been way below going rents. However, as you mentioned, your experience can vary. I have heard farmers comment that in other areas CRP payments are not just competitive but above the market. Hence the problem that irritates some producers, especially young farmers. Less land to rent. Now, I'm going to work on a more complete answer, but right now I just want to point out 3 things that could complicate this debate in the near future. First, the pollinator program. We liked it, and we just signed up a handful of awkward acres at the end of one field just to get rid of the hassle of farming around all the curves. When I agreed to the contract this spring, I was patting myself on the back for doing my environmental duty and taking a payment lower than the likely rent. But if rents do soften any more in my area, the contract could look like a good business deal in addition to being a stewardship improvement. Another factor I expect is calls for some kind of mechanism from the government to reduce acres and production, since we will likely have monstrous carryovers. The CRP has been one tool we used in the past to do this, and coupled with targeting acres that could help mitigate nutrient runoff, we could see farmers energized on both sides of this debate. Finally, we have a large cohort of baby boomers entering retirement age, and if rents do drop any more CRP bids could be hard to beat. My bottom line is we're going to be talking about the CRP a lot this winter.
Definitely something we're going to keep our eye on. Thanks so much, John. And if you have questions or comments, just send those to John at mailbag@usfarmreport.com. Well, when we come back, we'll head out west to visit Baxter Black.
What's the best way to protect your home and family when storms and winds knock out your electricity? The answer is a home standby generator from Generac. It automatically supplies power to your home within seconds of a power outage. To get our best deal ever, go to Generac.com and download this certificate worth $995. Use it when you purchase a Generac home standby generator to get our 10-year ultimate warranty for free. That's a $995 value free, but you must claim your certificate now. Go to Generac.com or call 1-800-394-1563.
It's one of the best investments I've ever made in this house.
It gives you security, it's reliable.
That gives you that feeling of security that, to me, is priceless.
Claim your $995 certificate now at Generac.com.
The desire to bring real-world solutions to growers' difficult production challenges has led Bayer to introduce Credenz, our national brand of soybean seed, backed by years of research in smart genetics. Smart genetics is based on 4 concepts. State-of-the-art breeding allows Bayer to identify key traits and characteristics that bring value and protection to your soybean production situation. Next is herbicide-tolerant traits. The flexibility of multiple trait platforms allows growers to pick the most effective weed control system for their farm. Next is tailored varieties. With a robust portfolio, Credenz offers many solutions for difficult situations that you may experience, along with our best-in-class agronomic service team to support variety selection. And last is ongoing innovation. Bayer is continuing to invest in ways to improve yields and increase the profitability on your farm.
Well, since we're on the crop tour, a lot of our coverage this week has mostly been about crops and not a lot about cows. So now we'll head out west to visit Baxter Black.
Can you imagine a world without cows? In the last 5 centuries, the domestic bovine has moved itself into virtually every county in the Western Hemisphere. But for the sake of our initial question, a world without cows, say we had been conquered by marauding Latvians, or Amazonian dart blowers, or a powerful vegetarian brokerage firm in Fiji who did not bring cattle into the country. Well, my first observation is there would be no Big Macs. Beef, milk, and cheese would not be available in abundance. Would we try and domesticate deer or buffalo or elk or wild goats? Would we be hearing, pork, it's what's for dinner, or where's the mutton, or goat, the other white meat? Got okra? I'll have some certified Angus drumstick. Well, I'll have a fungus burger with shredded styrofoam and a side of those thistle poppers. Does your horse meat pudding come with splash guards? I'll have some cold mutton gravy with hair in it. I'm assuming goat milk would become the drink of choice. Chicken would become the biggest source of animal protein unless we were able to tame sperm whales. Shetland pony tenderloin would be served at good steakhouses, and our eating habits would become boring to many Epicureans. They'd be yearning for a big, juicy, succulent, mouth-watering, medium rare, right off the grill. What? Gizzard? camel hump, dog leg, Cornish hamster. We'd be importing insulin made from yak pancreas. Leather upholstery, boots, and baseballs would all be made of Naga hide. Roy Rogers would have stayed in Iowa and become the soybean balladeer. Trevor Brazil would have become a professional golfer, and I would be a former reptile veterinarian and swineherd poet. Ode to the pig, who brings us ribs and pork. Oh, how I long to trade my ham for sirloin on a fork. This is Baxter Black, our mountains there.
Thanks, Baxter, and you can watch more of Baxter's humor online at baxterblack.com. Well, when we come back, Machinery Pete joins me for this week's Tractor Tales.
Don't miss the nation's largest outdoor ag exposition, the 2016 Farm Progress Show, August 30th, 31st, and September 1st at Boone, Iowa. The 90-acre Expo City features over 600 exhibitors, bigger than ever before. More exhibitors, more new products, even more new great events for you to take in. It's August 30th through September 1st, just west of Interstate Highway 35 at Boone, Iowa. Go to farmprogressshow.com for more information and to order tickets.
This is an important medical announcement regarding the prescription blood thinner Xarelto. If you or a loved one has been hospitalized or died from serious internal bleeding, including bleeding of the brain or gastrointestinal system after taking Xarelto, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Time may be limited to file a claim, so don't delay. Call Xarelto Relief Line now. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. Call Xarelto Relief Line now.
Please call 800-970-0580.
Now everyone who uses catheters can get a better catheter with Liberator Medical's free catheter sample pack. These new catheters are better than ever, easier to use, more convenient, comfortable, virtually pain-free. Don't wait. Call now and get your free catheter sample pack. There's the all-new compact catheter for women, pre-lubricated, no drips, no mess, fits in your purse. The self-lubricated catheter. It lubricates itself in the package. Comfortable, no mess. The closed system catheter, pre-lubricated with its own collection bag, proven to reduce UTIs. The discreet pocket catheter, curved to fit in your pocket to go anywhere. The polished eyelet catheter for micro-smooth comfort, reduces friction and pain. Call now. We'll also bill Medicare and your insurance for you. Call for your free catheter sample pack with free shipping. Call Liberator Medical.
Call 1-800-291-9626. 1-800-291-9626.
Time now for Tractor Tales with Machinery Pete, the most trusted name in farm equipment.
Welcome back to Tractor Tales, folks. This week our featured tractor is a John Deere BR. Rusty Schaefer introduced us to this 1937 classic BR while visiting his place in south central Michigan. Rusty told us he finds this BR very helpful around his property.
I use it quite a little bit, just because it's small and it's handy to move stuff around. I bought it like this. The guy that we knew restored it quite a few years ago, and it kind of sat in the shed, and I asked him about buying it, and no, he didn't really want to sell it, and then finally he says, well, I'll sell it to you, and so I just thought I had to have it and bought it. I did a little bit of cleaning up the carburetor and stuff like that. It had been sitting for a while, but well, it was just a standard tractor for the farm, and which they came out with a BO, and that was like an orchard tractor, but it didn't have no air stacks or nothing on it. And then they come out with this. It was just a standard tractor. I just enjoy it and pull wagons around and stuff like that. Maybe someday I'll paint it again, I don't know. But just enjoy it, and I like taking it to shows. It's easy to haul, it's light and little. Bought it basically like it is, and other than cleaning up, the carburetor, and I worked on the mag disc a little bit to get it going, and that's all we done to it. This back tank was your starting tank. You started it on gas and then it run on distillate. So then once you got it started, then you had to switch it over. The valves and all that are still on there. You could still do it.
All right, thanks. Well, this week's Country Church Salute goes to the Lister Lutheran Church of Nelson, Wisconsin. The congregation is celebrating their 150th anniversary this year. It was started by Norwegian Americans in the 1860s, and they say the church still stands today as a testament to their faith and strength. The congregation today is strong, with 417 baptized and 261 confirmed. Our thanks to Myrna Johnson for sharing their story. All right, well, we're keeping with the crop tour theme. When we come back, we have photos from this week's tour. Stay with us.
Welcome. Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. We're going to grab that empty toolbox for me. Let's start here with the aluminum bed.
That's a big hole. Huge. We got Swiss cheese for a truck here. I'm curious to see if that will do the same thing with the Chevy.
Well, let's find out. Same spot, same angle, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better. The steel held up.
Silverado proved it is the toughest truck here.
There are no marks of conflict lining this landscape. No echoes of economic hardship. Just the unmistakable murmur of Mother Nature's hand. In the perennial quest to outperform, ensure your crop gets the nutrients it craves with Avail Phosphorus Fertilizer Enhancer. Nothing helps protect your investment more, so you can grow confidently no matter what comes your way. Avail. Hold your ground.
Are you living with slow internet at home? Or maybe no internet at all? Then you need HughesNet Gen 4, high-speed satellite internet. Whether you live out of town or way out of town, HughesNet is available wherever you call home. So you can live where you love and enjoy a great internet connection too. HughesNet features smart technologies to make your online experience better than ever. So go ahead, shop for deals. Learn new things. Share little moments. And stay in touch. Connect to what matters most with HughesNet.
Right now is the perfect time to finally get high-speed internet where you live. HughesNet, America's #1 choice for satellite internet. Call now. For a limited time, standard installation is free. For special offers only in your area, text FAST to 99000.
Well, in the spirit of Crop Tour Week, we're showing some photos from throughout the week, courtesy of mainly Twitter. Jared Creed says to him, Nebraska corn yield might be about as disappointing as being a Huskers fan. Being a Mizzou fan, that's pretty funny. And in Iowa, Mike Berto says the corn looks great from the road in Cedar County, but once you get in the field, it's horrible, he said. He says beans were just as bad with very few pods. Well, Josh Merriman made a stop just south of Carroll, Iowa. He says this field yielded an impressive 199 bushels per acre, but he said it could have gone 230 if it wasn't for green snap. And Bob found more than just your typical insects you find in the fields. This year, it was ear frogs. And just in case you were worried that the Scouts don't have any fun during Crop Tour, they say Johnson County, Iowa corn needed some juggling, coming in at 227 bushels per acre. And our Scouts just missed a tornado that ripped through Indiana this week. As you can see from these pictures, it flattened corn and even flattened some buildings. Thank goodness they were away from all that danger. Well, if you have any pictures or you would like to contact us, you can do that by sending us an email at mailbag@usfarmreport.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Well, from all of us at US Farm Report, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to join us next week as we're back in the studio to build on our tradition. Have a great weekend, everyone.
High-strength steel for high-strength dependability. Chevy Silverado, the official news-gathering vehicle of U.S. Farm Report. U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.